Hey, everybody. So we're back with TWA Talks, and I know y'all have been waiting for us, and we have some really good stuff lined up for today. A really good conversation with a really good friend of mine. So if you don't know, October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. Now, there are a whole bunch of other awarenesses of different conditions, I'll say, that go on in October. I think I saw spina bifida was one, breast cancer awareness. So October is the awareness month, but today what we're going to focus on truly is Down syndrome, because Down syndrome is one of the top disabilities that children experience in their childhood. I don't know its prevalence. I can't remember the exact number, but I do talk about disabilities as it relates to childhood. Down syndrome is definitely going to be one of your top ones. And then, in addition to that, talking about the disability side of it is where we really want to get into, because I really like to show y'all the spectrum of disability. Disability is not the same for everyone, even for other families who may have Down syndrome or cerebral palsy. Their walks are going to look different. So I think it's really important to bring visibility to everybody, and uplift the voices of the families who are actually walking the disability walk. So, with all of that being said, I want to introduce you to my good friend, LaShondra Carter. LaShondra is the mom of TJ. So, let you introduce yourself before I get excited and steal your thunder.
It's okay. Your thumb is my thunder, my thumb is yours. So my name is LaShondra Carter. I have a 7-year-old with Down syndrome, uh, specifically trisomy 21, with him having an extra set of 21 chromosomes. There's a lot of different cases of Down syndrome, but here specifically is trisomy 21.
Yeah, I love that you pointed out for people, because that's a very common misconception. So, like I said, people think disability or Down syndrome is the same for everybody. And you highlighted specifically the fact that it's his chromosome number 21 that has the extra chromosome. So, everybody, if you don't know, in genetics, they teach you that, it should be two chromosomes, and then sometimes there is a third one that's added. And the common one that people typically hear is trisomy 13. But specifically for TJ, his is trisomy 21. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that shows, how deep you dove into truly understanding his condition. And then you also pointed it's genetic. So a lot of disabilities, for us, we didn't discover Harper's disability until she literally got here on Earth. But it sounds like y'all made the discovery at what point do you think did you find out about the diagnosis?
I thought that at the very beginning.
Of your pregnancy or
pregnancy.
Okay.
I was told that he had a hole in his heart and that he had like some extra fatty tissue on the back of his neck. And the doctor like he has Down syndrome. Like, me, I don't know what it is, but I knew that something that I didn't want my first child to be diagnosed with a disability. Your first child, you discouraged. But um when he told me, like when he first told me, like everything just went in one ear and out the other. After everything, it was like whatever he was saying, I didn't hear it. My focus was my first child, a disability. But then he was like, we can test it to make sure he had wanted to go in to get Tussie Jane. But I'm like, he like this risky. Because you saying this, but not for sure. But now if I let you go in, you might cause more complications. But then the nurse like they can get it through my blood work.
So the name of the procedure, I can't remember the specific name of it, but they would go through your placenta. What's it?
I think it's the needle.
So the name, basically, in the procedure, they would take a needle and go through your stomach to the placenta to the baby, and that does introduce so many other like risks that could come forward just for you to find out for sure, is this what he's saying? Is that so? That's ultimately like at the point that you were in the pregnancy where the name of the procedure is slipping my mind right amniocentesis. That's exactly what. So amniocentesis is where ultimately they take a needle, huge long, to get to the baby to draw some of his blood to test it. And you said no. It's not.
I said no because he was the type of doctor that he didn't sugarcoat. He did straightforward, you know, with him giving them facts. And I'm like, I don't want to take a risk because what if he come be born and don't have it? Or he be born and then y'all done cause something else, you know?
Yeah. I think that that's so important that you highlight that that was a part of your journey because like you said, it's your first child. So if you, for other families who are out there that maybe it's their first time being pregnant, it's their first child, and they get this news of, hey, we're discovered. So obviously he discovered something on some other reading because there's so many different things that you go through as it relates to your pregnancy. And I don't want to say go through, but so for healthcare, for those people who are going to a doctor consistently, you're going to go once a month up until it gets time to go week to week. But obviously, they're doing different testing, different imaging, and obviously on that imaging, they discovered the hole in the heart and other like abnormalities that they were kind of introduced it to you. And so that's, I love that you described that because a lot of people forget again that this is what happens and this is a normal part of your journey in pregnancy. And so then sometimes you do get hit with that news. And so yeah, so I honestly I can't blame you because I would have done the same thing. Like if you're telling me here is what I'm seeing on imaging, and we know that imaging is not always clear. You know, it could be there, it could not. It's always it's a large percentage of a chance that it's not. I'm gonna go with what. Let's just see what what happened. So, tell us a little bit about like what happened after that. Like after you got that news, after you said no, we're not gonna do the amniocentesis. Then, what did your journey in pregnancy kind of shift to, as it relates to like what your doctor said? Like you told him, all right, no. What was next?
I stood outside the hospital and cried. I cried. I cried. I cried. My days crying every day, asking God why my first child, you know. And at the during that time, you know, I always feel like if I need somebody, I just want to love somebody or somebody to love me, even though we have family, we in our family, but you're alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, okay. And I would actually see kids with Down syndrome come in the workplace. I'm like, oh, and I'd just be looking and just being all, but I was just looking for, I just wanted to be loved. And God gave me that child, not knowing he was going to have a disability. But once I began to embrace that there was going to be my child regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Disability or not.
Yeah.
You know, your child is yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't going to neglect CJ because he has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. He's still human. That's his normal, and I had mine. Mm-hmm. What's normal to you may not be normal to somebody else.
Correct.
And that doesn't make a person with Down syndrome less of a human being. They have a right to be in this world just like anybody else.
That is so, I love that you said that. I was watching like some of the right now I see it more happening fictionally, like on the TV shows where the doctors will say, oh, you should go ahead and let this terminate the pregnancy. Is ultimately what I think you speaking towards, is like why, why this is still a human being, and just because this disability is being introduced does not mean that he still can't thrive and he still can't lead and live a full life. And I think it's so beautiful also that you pointed out and highlighted your grief that you felt. When you get the diagnosis, immediately you feel isolated from what you know. You feel like nobody understands what you're going through. Nobody will understand what you're going through, the life that you thought you were going to have. Like all of that grief hit you. And then you also jump to, I embraced it. Because that's where a lot of families get stuck and they never make it to that next step of embracing the disability. And so, ultimately, like that's why we're here. I think that's how we ended up finding each other. It's like once we got through feeling like, let me grieve what I thought life was gonna look like. Let me grieve, the fact that why me? Because I think every parent who's ever received any diagnosis says that to God first, if they're believers, especially. Because I know I said it. I remember having a conversation with my dad where we were like, why our child? Like my dad said, he was like, I went to God and was like, now I got all these other children. My dad is 6 of us. And then he also has, I can't even remember count. I think it's like 9 grandkids now. But he's like, why? Why this one? Like, why this child of all of the children that we already have? So it's so important that people see that it is a common thing for you to grieve first. And there is nothing wrong with grieving, because in that grieving, you move to the next step, which is then starting to embrace the fact that, okay, life is going to look different. Let's see what life is going to look like. I think that's just so important for families, because like they don't get to that point. A lot of people, especially like I said, people who are still kind of in denial and not embracing the fact that, one of their children or loved ones has a disability, and understanding that you can embrace that. You can embrace that and it's okay. So talk a little bit. I remember when we were in the mom support group, and specifically that day was a heavy day for some of the moms in our group. And I think we were all just kind of in tears, because like we heard one mom story, then it made me think of mine and made her think of hers. And then we were like, why is this so hard for us? And I remember when it came to you, you were like, listen, I pray, y'all. And I feel like for me, that was such a reminder in that moment, because in that space, I was in that space and living in that space, and I didn't have the strength that you had at that moment to bring that. So talk a little bit about like the hope, or how you got to the space that you found your strength so that you could embrace the diagnosis. And then let me just go ahead and give you your kudos. You went and got the best that you could for CJ. You went to United Ability, because that's how we found each other. The best of the best. It's only the best of the best for him. He's at Epic, which is the school in Birmingham City's school system that is known for embracing children with disabilities and helping them and being prepared for them. So you're doing all the things. You got them in therapy. You're doing everything, but it took you get like something got you there first. Can you talk a little bit towards what you think got you there? I know it was your relationship with God, because listen, that day I was so convicted. I was like, I hear you, girl. I hear you talking to me, because it's like, why you in here sad? Like, let's be clear. You got to have that relationship. You got to have something that's carrying you through. So help people get to,
It actually started when, and I know this don't have anything to do with it, but it's part of it. I remember finding out that I was pregnant around the time my brother got murdered.
Okay.
And my mom always say, you know, don't put too much pressure on a baby. I was trying to work 2 jobs and then find out your loved one get killed, and then you pregnant with your first child. Like don't want to put so much. I really couldn't grieve a physical death because I didn't want my baby to take on that energy from me. So me having my church family, I mean that foundation of going to church, that's all I knew. They say praise your way through. So I had to get to that. I was at that point. Like, okay, I can't put too much pressure on a baby. I'm going to cry for my brother. But at the same time, I got to be strong, for this baby. Because my sister would tell me, whatever you feeling, that baby gonna feel.
Mhm.
So I had to pray, music, church family. You think when you going through all this, you don't have no support system, but when you look around, you got people they may not understand or can't give you encouraging word because they don't know what to say. But the presence of them being there, that's what I had.
Yeah, that's a blessing. Cause listen, everybody ain't got that. Like everybody is not surrounded by people who can continue to encourage them. And you're so right. I have a cousin that told me, it's so funny. We were talking about getting pregnant with our second children, and she was like, I didn't want to get pregnant, and so I cried for like most of my pregnancy. And then when my baby got here, she did a lot of crying because you do. She said, I do feel like that's a real thing where you're passing that energy off into your child. So and at the same time, it sounded like you had like a lot of other different external.
Going.
Yeah, it sounded like that was a lot.
Like I'm like, okay, I gotta be strong for my mama because she lost her child. You trying to be strong for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Then they say you learn how to encourage yourself.
Yeah.
So I had to pretty much do that. Try not to let life get the best of me. You know what I'm saying? You got nieces and nephews, everybody crying. Because me, I might not even know you and I see you crying. I ain't gonna ask you what you're crying. I'm just gonna start crying because I can feel that, And with all what I knew with TJ, and I'm like, Lord, Lord, this too much. Now, sometimes I used to cry at night when nobody around. Just used to cry, listen to the music, and just fall asleep and get back up. You just
that's I love that. Like that was a way that you found to do that. Because again, like if you think about a lot of people who go and deal with depression and stuff, that's what they say. You hear a lot of people say, I couldn't find that way to uplift myself, to encourage myself. But it sounds like you had a lot of people that was uplifting you. You surrounded yourself with church, with your family. I remember talking to Jamie and Steven off of Shore Days, and they were saying that in their grieving process, they would, go to the beach physically and in their minds when they needed a space. And so, like, that was how they came up with the name Shore Days, was because that was their place of peace. And so just being on the shore, so shore days is how they would find their way back to their peace, like in the middle of their grief, in the middle of everything they had going on. So like I love that because I feel like sometimes I still struggle to get back to my place of peace because I'm still looking for the single thing that I know that I can go to. Because sometimes, you get so overwhelmed. Sometimes what used to work for you didn't work for you no more. And then you got to kind of grow and figure out, well, why is it not working? Things like that. So I love that you shared that, that's what got you through. And that, that's something that other people could take. And maybe, just have that place, like you said, at nighttime, quiet time to just cry, just let it out and know that it's okay to share that. That's beautiful. You got me in my feelings of him. I was just about to start acting up. But in getting through that, what has life been like for y'all since then? So you got the diagnosis. CJ is here. Life is moving on, moving ahead, full speed, I'm sure.
So after CJ was born, he had heart surgery at 5 months. He had eye surgery. He had the ileostomy. He had a G2. He was going through it, and like me, they're trying to work. And at the time, I'm thinking, but in the when he spent his first whole month in the NICU, he they let us go because the only thing was holding him back that he couldn't get the concept of suck and swallow. That was the only thing. But first month in the NICU, and it was just hard. And they used to literally tell me, go get some air. But who want to leave their child behind? So I would try to work, and then fast forward to 5 months, you dealing with somebody heart surgery, the ileostomy bag, G2. I had to play good cop, bad cop. His dad could not stand and see or do none of that. And my mom was like, she would watch him while I go to work. And she was like, hey, his bag came off and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay. I would literally, I don't care how busy we were at work, I would drop everything and I would go. I just said, I'll be back. And she was like, you're a good one, because I would have told them to keep my child in the hospital because I wouldn't know what to do. But I learned, I paid attention. Just because your child in the hospital and you have the nurses in there, yes, it's their job to look after them. But at some point, when that child is discharged, you have to be that nurse. So I took the time out to learn everything I need to learn, because I had to teach it to my mom. She was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to learn it because I'm watching him. But she was terrified. I was too, but I had to learn it. The the worst part was after all his stuff got reversed, no more G2, the iliac, the stoma was flesh, and any tap on it, it would bleed. So I would have to learn how to put the bag and stuff on and all that. The nurse was like, how you get his bag to stay more than a week? I had a good nurse that taught me that. They had years of experience, but she was like, they're like, you do better than us. You need to come work with you at the hospital. I was focusing. Even though I didn't want to do it, but I had to. The worst part for me, after everything being reversed, changed, no more heart surgery, G2 gone, stoma reimbursed, and his nurse Tracy, thank God for her. She was like, this the hard part. She was like, he's gonna have a rash that he's not used to. And on top of that, he had Hirschsprung.
At what now?
Hirschsprung. This the nerves in your bowel. They help you squeeze your muscles.
Okay.
He still deal with that today. But she was like, it's gonna be a real bad rash. It used to hurt me to my core because I used to have to stick him with a metal rod. It was thick. And his spirit like, stick it far as you can go to give it to this line. 2 times a day.
To have him poop.
I used to have to put him on frog position. And he would resist. His dad couldn't stand it. So that's why I was like, good cop and bad cop. But it hurt me to my core. I'm like, Mom, come on, I'm going to stick him in the morning time before I go. And as soon as I get out of work, I'm going to go ahead and get it out the way. That hurt me to my core. Yeah. Everything else, despite the bag, they metal rod.
So I think that you just brought some visuals and information that
you got to be ready for.
You got to get you in moving into acceptance.
That was life for us.
That was what it looked like. And you know what, we were having a conversation the other day. I think I was talking to Brittany. I don't know who I was talking to, but it's so important for people to realize that it's not a scary situation because you're unfamiliar with it. It just takes you having the patience to say, I'm willing to learn it. Because as parents, that's what happens to us, is we have to say, I'm willing to learn what I need to learn to keep my child alive. And not just keep them alive. If this is what their need is, I'm willing to learn what I need to do to meet their needs. And I feel like if more people had that openness in their minds and in their hearts to say that I understand that, this is not a typical situation, but this is what this individual needs, people will look at disability so differently. And just like you said, having the family members surrounding you to say, okay, I'm terrified, but I will learn. My sisters did the same thing to me with Harper's diagnosis. She got diagnosed with epilepsy. We had never seen seizures before. I have a sister that had seizures, but she never lose consciousness with her seizures. She just kind of lose control of her movement temporarily, but it'll eventually come back. But Harper is unconscious, and she, and that is scary. And I remember telling my sisters for the first time when they officially like gave her a diagnosis, they were like, okay, what do we need to learn? I had friends who were like, okay, what does that mean? What do I need to learn? It's so important in the disability journey, in any disability journey, whether it's medically complex, because it sounds like you guys had to deal with that physical medical complexity for a little while in the beginning of his life, and you had to learn that, and you said, I embraced it. If that's what you're saying I got to do, I'm going to find the best of the best. Nurse Tracy, teach me how to do this so that I could be successful with it at home, because it's what's needed. Not, I don't want to do this. I think it's so important for us to highlight that we get past the I don't want to, because we finally said, okay, God, not my will, your will. If this is your will, if this is what I have to do, I surrender to that. I will do that. And I think that's so important, for people hopefully to hear practically, because in practicality, that's what surrendering to God's will looks like, right? It's not just raise your hand in church and say, I surrender. It's okay, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to do. And I think and then I think the beautiful part of that is, like you said, he progressed to the point where he didn't need that anymore. And that's the light at the end of the tunnel, or the beautiful side of it, is that it didn't have to continue because you helped him heal. And so, I think that's so important. That's why I told Brittany, I was like, yeah, her story is going to be so good, because you're sharing bits and pieces of your stories that people really don't get into the nitty gritty of. I think the last time we talked to Christy Broderick, when she was talking about Thomas's journey, is when we heard, some of the similarities of what you did and what you went through. So thank you. Because I didn't know that you had to do all that. And it is, hopefully for anybody who's watching, is a demonstration of your strength, and the strength that you did not have in the beginning. That strength was developed through walking the walk and doing what you had to for TJ.
Since I was showing.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. One day we was cleaning up and he found out that I used to speak.
So what is that? So you said you had to like insert it to help him have bowel movement?
To help him get ready to prepare him for the poop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doing it by me doing it, even though she was like, he's gonna have a rash regardless.
Yeah. Oh, we from the okay.
I want to use. I mean, he used to cry.
Yeah.
And you see him in the water cry. It used to hurt my heart. We just come on, we can do this.
Yeah.
Let's do it, get it over with, and
yeah.
Like he would. I was like, Lord, please don't have a good child. None of all that crying and none of that. He never cried.
Oh wow.
Never. I never had to deal with it. But as he got a little older, I know I should have been more specific, but no, that's a child.
Yeah.
And I'm learning.
I think all of us feel that with any toddler, disability or not, is, they gonna do what they want to do. They are still little human beings, and they still have to learn like in their own way.
I want to piggyback on something you had said earlier. The lifespan. That doctor did tell me they don't live past 5. And
5 years old?
Yeah, these are some of them, and I'm like, he's 7 now. Like sometimes I wish I could just go back to the doctor. Hey, he's 7, but then my sister would send me. They actually had a show about children with Down syndrome, and they would show their lifestyle. Some
Was it on Netflix?
it was on Lifetime, I think.
Oh, Lifetime.
Might be like the Week Channel, but the little series came on showing their lifestyle. Like some of them on the yoga studios, some lawyers, some like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't believe in a prognosis because I am a believer in Jesus Christ and God. Like I believe that whatever their will is for life, that's you as a physician, you're a practitioner, meaning this is a practice for you. You don't know the end of everybody's life. And so a prognosis, while you can give it to me, I respect that you have to say that because that's what your book told you that you got to do is to prepare me. My belief is higher than you. So I love that, and I have moments where I want to, go back to somebody because I tell my friends all the time, like I be letting people get away, but I wish I could go back and be like, let me show you. But it ain't even worth it because at the end of the day, CJ has had such a profound impact in every space that he's been in that's all, whoever that doctor is, we respect you. You did your job. I get it, but also here, you were wrong. Thank you. So with that being said, CJ, I always used to walk in United Building in here. CJ, and CJ would come down that hallway walking like he was the man. I was like, look at that little boy right there. He's so cute. Everybody loved him. It was like he owned the hallway. And so let's talk a little bit now about CJ. What does the day-to-day look like for you guys today? Now that you've gotten through some of the, harder parts of, what happened in the beginning. Now, what does your typical day-to-day look like? What's your norm?
My norm, DJ be up way before I do, destroying the house, get into everything. And then he'll come and wake me up. I still be tired. He up, I'm asleep. And I can say, hey, what you got into today? Sometimes I wake up on my feet, yelling his name, CJ, where are you? And he won't say a word. Now his favorite spot is he'd be by the front door, either in a suitcase sitting in it or a chair, playing with his piano and his stuffed animals. CJ will always have energy. It can be 3:00 in the morning. He's playing like it's 2 in the evening.
Lord,
He always on the go, want to play. I don't care if you do a specific thing with him, and every time he see you, he gonna want you to do that. CJ love to play, whether you're a child, adult, whatever.
Yeah. That's I feel like that's any child, like those children who just have that high energy, and you just got to give them space. You got to put them in like the little sports and stuff.
I try to wear him out, but I get wore out. That's where that extra 21 chromosome come in. It's the energy.
Yeah,
it's the energy.
That is so funny. So does he have any appointment, like still do any appointments or other services like today?
He does. He has he get inpatient therapy at school. He go to outpatient. He still see his heart doctor. He still see the specialist GI. He still see Dr. Anderson for her strongs. We no longer have to see the kidney doctor anymore. They all appointments are like spaced out now from like 6 months to a year. Still see EMT. Everything just spaced out.
It's progressing.
It used to be like we used to have like appointments like back to back. Maybe 3 in one day, 2 in one day, or 3 in 1 week. and it used to be draining, but had to do what I had to do. I had to learn a lot of doctors' names. Even one one time I took him to the emergency room. He ended up getting admitted. My mom came up there and she like, you need to go get checked out. I ended up getting admitted. I'm like, this is crazy. Me being a mom, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Still making sure I had to call and cancel his appointment, get it, reschedule. They're like, how are you doing this? And I'm not worried about me right now. I have to make sure his stuff is straight because I used to try to encourage his dad,
Yeah.
he don't like hospitals, but get to know his doctors. Learn how to make his appointments. I used to even try to quiz him, like, "Hey, tell me who his primary doctor is." So he thought I was being funny, but you need to know this. One day I might not be here, or I can't do it, and then your hand is forced.
Yeah.
Or you calling me who he sees, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want us to be on the same page with you can go in and tell them about what's going on when I'm not there.
That's that's a whole nother topic. I'm trying not to go into because I'm like, girl, I feel. But like, that's what I feel like a lot of parents. That's the dynamic between a lot of parents is that mom is the one, they got all the information, know all the things. But it's so important to have partners in that because, like you said, if I can't do it one day, you have to, because we are his boys. And a lot of parents need to, hear that it's a common thing. Again, what you're going through, you're not the only one. It's something that we all experience in all of our relationships and parenting, is that you do have one parent that's dominant because like you said, I dropped everything. What is it that I have to learn while dad was like, oh, this makes me squeamish, but we don't have a choice. I don't get to be squeamish. Like I have to push past because I still struggle with changing poop diapers after Harper. I gag, but it's because I worked in the lab and I know I ain't like poop in the lab, So now, even today, I had to change her yesterday, girl. I was like, when did you even have corn? Like, I'm about to throw up because I don't like this, but you do what you got to do. And I think that ultimately, even dads who say, I'm squeamish, I don't like to see it, I don't like, because hearing is the same way. Hearing does not prefer to give baths. I'll be like, get him a bath. I'm sorry, my back hurting, and what dads need to see is that there are moments where you got to push through and you have it inside of you to push through. It's so important. And then, it falls on us also as, we have to take accountability in that we're not belittling them or making them feel like because they don't know and we know that they're less than or they feel smaller than us. So like you said, I think encouraging him to say, who is his, like let's go ahead and let's have this conversation now so you can know what I know so that you can know you're an equal partner in our child's care. So important because again, even for relationships fall apart fast when this diagnosis hit us. It does. It either gonna strengthen us and drive us together for the people who gonna work together to learn how to care for their child because I can't do it all and then I gotta go to work and then the child gotta stay with you and then you like I don't know what to do. Like it's not gonna be that. We gonna work together and we gonna say this is what's needed. This is what you have to do. These are the steps you have to take. All right. When child ain't here and we having a conversation together, let's talk about it. Let me quiz you. Tell me what questions you have and then like let me tell you where I'm uncomfortable, but that exchange, that genuine exchange of I acknowledge you're squeamish or I acknowledge that this is still hard for you because I processed it faster because I was the one carrying the child, and giving them that space and that grace to grow is so important too, because that's the only way you can have successful parenting, and our disability journey. So you bringing us some good stuff here. Like, I mean, dang, I was like, I wasn't prepared to go here, but let's go there. Let's talk about it because this is so good.
See, this thing about me and sweetheart, it just all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't care how organized I try to get. chaos. But that's the beauty about it. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, they just see y'all got a first experience of CJ coming in the house, roaming around, don't know where he is, but he's curious, he's determined.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna take no for that.
Mm-hmm.
He got to a point with me. He like somebody brought him up, gave him a tent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling him I cannot fit in that tent. He did not take no for it. As he twisted my neck, like, come on, I can't get it. So he was like, put the tent on my head. I'm like, I cannot fit. If he just that determined. He's not taking no for it now.
I love that y'all have a relationship where y'all, so talk a little bit about like y'all's communication. So he like, yeah, I don't care. You my best friend. Get in this tent with me. What does other conversations between y'all look like? I can imagine.
In the beginning, like in the very, very beginning, it used to be so hard. I'm like, Lord, give me a sign that we are communicating. He understands me, I understand. So when he would want some and it was wrong, he would just look. But if I get it right, he give me a thumbs up.
Oh, good.
And I was like, okay, we get somewhere. But now, CJ, you can't, he Mr. Know-it-all and don't know nothing yet.
Oh my God.
But I can be like, CJ, come here. And my Lord, he would want me to physically yell and say now for him to respond. And he knew how to get it out of me. He knew it. But I'm like, either you're ignoring me or you can't hear.
Oh yeah.
But he's a passive parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that children with Down syndrome, they love to ignore.
Mm.
They hear you. He hear me.
Mm-hmm.
He just choose to do what CJ wants
But
to do.
listen, I think when I had Mason, everybody's like, "Oh, he all boy." I think CJ is just all boy.
All
Because
boy,
listen, that's what they do. Mason told me today. Now, Mason don't have a disability, but he shows me that same level of, you think you know it all and you don't know nothing. I'm getting ready to put the little cheese puff on. He's talking about no. I'm like, all right, you don't want the chips? No. I said, okay, and I walk away. Here you go. Mommy. You just said you didn't want them. See, if you would have just let me pour them on the plate. So yeah, I feel like a lot of what you are exhibiting or experiencing. Yeah.
And if he would like, he get on my nerves. He would ask for his milk. I like, let me show you how to open this milk so you won't have to ask me no more. You don't have to ask me, just go get it. He didn't want that. Or I give him the milk. I was like, yeah, he don't want that. He tell you, sit it down, and you go right back and get it. And I had to tell my mom and them, like, if CJ asks you for something, he gonna want you to sit it down so he can get it. Mm-hmm. Or if you want CJ to pick something up off the floor, you got to say put in. And I learned that from his therapy. Mm-hmm. You CJ identify with a one word. If you can't say, hey, go over there and pick that up. You got to give him details of what he's looking for. Mm-hmm. And I try to keep it to one word where he associate that word to what I'm asking him.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like you know how they say like with small children, you have to be very specific in what it is that you're telling. You can't just say go over there or say bring me my phone. You can't say bring me my phone. You gotta say go over there and look behind the table and bring my phone to me.
But with CJ, I have to say bring mama her phone. Like that's how he phone. Mm-hmm. So bring, and he'll give it to me. Mm-hmm. So that's how we communicate.
And that also speaks to how he learns. Because like you said, you can't tell him to go over there and pick that toy up. You got to go say, pick the toy up and put it in. Or, hey, go get that toy and put it in.
I tell him, put in because he's hearing it from the therapist. They're using a few words,
Okay.
not the whole sentence. So I was like, well, Mom, if y'all want to just do something, especially to pick something up, you have to say put in. He know
Put in.
to pick that up and put it where it's supposed to go.
Okay.
And
I forget what that's called. So Harper uses AAC, and the way we teach her to talk is it's the same way that, because I look at Mason. Mason is typically developing where when they're starting their language, they start with words first, so one word, two word. Then you can start to do what do they call it, like instructional, where it's like go over there and do this thing. And but if you know with language, it always starts with a word. So like right now, Harper is hungry. Whenever she's hungry, she's not saying I'm hungry, she's saying hungry. And so like now we're progressing to you know, we want her to say I'm hungry or I am hungry. And so it's just that progression of it, and it speaks to like their developmental delays. But again, embrace that there's a delay there, and then meet them where they are in their learning, and we can still communicate with them effectively, and they could then start to communicate with us. I can't remember, they have a formal name for that, like you said, the two word and the
and now
one and
he
two
got
instructions.
and she experienced today. He got sentences too. He walked in and asked her, "How are you doing?" And CJ would take you by surprise, like, "Did you just say that?" And he'll just bust outside that.
That's it. It's because they know. It's like he like, oh, I see a young tenderoni over here. Let me ask her how she doing.
And you know, CJ used to give her a handshake and hug, and you know, CJ he friendly. But and I know some people, you know, you can feel the energy of people. He will probably give you a hug and might shake her hand or might not do nothing. We can be out in the store. CJ will haul off and hug me. He will hug people. And one day I used to be like, no, you don't know these people. I don't know these people. You just can't. But one day CJ hugs a guy and he was like, man, I really needed that.
Oh wow.
And I was like, I need to stop kind of like doing that because you never know, God might be using him to touch.
That's a good way to look at it.
Other people.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, man, I don't know, like I'm stop a little, but it touched me like he impacting other people. Everybody don't get a hug, and just the little small thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that. That's exactly what I was about to ask you about. It's like interactions like outside of home and like what it looks like. And it's so crazy that you say that, because I was talking to my pastor a while back, and he talked about how like God already knows, like for this journey, the very moment where he's gonna use something that you never thought about. So like, you know, like you can't be out here hugging strangers just for that one time to be something that could have saved somebody's life. It could have stopped them from going and harming themselves or somebody else because they got this random hug from this child. You know that, and I'm sure the hugs are genuine. Are like squeeze, you know.
And they don't even see it. See, they just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's crazy. I love that though. I love that. So talk a little bit more about like y'all's experiences, other experiences that y'all have, good and bad. Like, have there been any experiences? For me, we still get the stares because I feel like I've built our little comfort zone so big that we don't notice the stares until we get further out, and we still getting stared at. And then I'm sent right back into, I'm ready to kill. You know, I'm ready to cuss somebody out. I'm ready to say, you ain't never seen a child in a wheelchair. You know, what you want to know about answers, you know. So tell us about your experiences. Like, you know, again, out and about.
Out and about, that I hate the stairs. The stairs. And it don't be so much the kids either. It be the grown up. Or they'll say, oh, he look like my little nephew. I'm like, where like I don't when I learn to see CJ as CJ, I don't when I see CJ, I see me.
Mm-hmm.
So like stop saying he look like he's fine. And I'll never forget this one incident. We was at the festival park and children be want to play with CJ.
Yep.
They I don't care how they try to put it, they be want to play. Just ask to play.
And you see CJ, how could you not want to play with him?
Exactly, because I want to run with him and they said, like, what y'all
The little girl, it was two little cousins, and one of I was like, why he look like that? The other girl was like, oh, why you say that? And I was like, no, it's fine. First, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what you mean? But I was like, she a child,
Yeah.
and it's not her fault because he has an opportunity for her. I said, what you mean? Why he look like that? He like, she like that. I was like, I don't see what you're talking about. I was like, but how would you feel if somebody asked you why you look like that? She like, look like what I said, my point exactly. I said, it's okay, but you have to be careful. You know, I said, but I knew what she was talking about. I was like, but he has a condition of disability, Down syndrome. And she like, you can tell she want to know more.
Yeah.
And she like, can I play with him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you can play with him, and
Mm-hmm.
they went off.
Yeah. That's good. Like, children are always inquisitive. They're gonna say what exactly it is that they thinking. And like you said, it's sting at first, like, girl, but also I get what you want, what it is that you're trying to ask me. And then like as parents of children with disabilities, we always have to step back and like educate, use those moments where, like I said, it's sting at first because it make you want to like jump to the defensive, but we have to put our feelings aside and then like educate. For me, that's I still struggle. I struggle there. I ain't gonna lie to you. I struggle. I don't care how far I come into this journey, I still struggle in those moments because I'm ready to cuss everybody out first, but also realizing that I feel like we're on this journey and God is using us to be able to educate other people. And then if this is what some of those moments is gonna look like, that's what it's gonna look like. So we have to use them.
Yeah, I know. In the beginning, I used to find myself explaining. I'm like, I gotta explain,
Yeah.
Why he looked the way he looked to everybody. No, I'm not
Right.
gonna do that. But and I never was put in a place where I was afraid to take him out, out and about. If I would leave him at home, it was because my mom would ask me to do something like, okay, well, since you want me to do this, can you watch him?
Yeah.
But I know I had came across this person that I worked with. She was telling me about her neighbor. Her neighbor had a child with a disability, and she never take the baby out. She like we will go to the park, but she never take them out in public. I was like, she need to stop doing that.
Mm.
She need to embrace her child. She need to get him connected, whatever he need. And she like, I told her that, but she just won't.
Yeah. That's where what we was talking about earlier is for those parents. Number one, it takes visibility. It takes them seeing more people that's like them to make them embrace it, to help them embrace. So like how you see all over the TV screens, representation matters. This is a perfect example of, or especially in the Black community, representation matters beyond just our race. We also need to show people what cerebral palsy looks like, what Down syndrome looks like, because there are people that's still hiding in their homes. So, if on some of the previous TWA talks, we talked a little bit about how that stems from history in the past. Because when children, autism wasn't diagnosed as heavily back in the day in the 60s, the 50s, 60s. And so, what was common for families back then was for them to hide their individuals in the home. If people were coming over for a visit, hide the person. And that was mainly because they thought they would have lost custody of that person. The authorities, the state, whoever would have come in and said you're not caring for them properly, and then essentially sent them into an institution. But trying to blame the family as if it's their fault for why that person, that child, whoever is like they are, because you weren't doing everything that you could to raise them. When really that's further from the truth. This person was born like this, and they needed additional supports and services and systems in place to help them thrive. But that wasn't readily available to Black families. And so we still see a lot of that showing up in our community today, which is why people still are very ashamed. That's what she feels. That's what that mom feels. I remember having a conversation with a lady about her daughter-in-law who had a their child was diagnosed with autism. And I remember her saying, oh, she just feels so ashamed. And it's like, I think that you need to understand what that shame is that you're blaming on her, that she feels for this child. It's truly not what she feels for the child, it's what she feels in herself. Is that I feel like I caused this, because that's a lot of a part of the journey of parenting a child with a disability. Is we always blame ourselves first. And if you don't find that community of people that could tell you it's not your fault, there is nothing that you could have done to prevent this, to help you get to that point of embracing. That's what it's gonna feel like, and that's what we still see a lot of. I told you we had somebody that told us, "Oh no, we ADHD. Y'all just we don't have we're ADHD. We don't have a disability. Y'all for disabilities." And we like ADHD is actually called an invisible disability, if you wanted to know, and we embrace everybody with any disability, no matter the severity. And so I think it's just so important for again us to show people that what life is like walking this walk is still just as enjoyable. They thrive. They still gonna try to squeeze you in their tent. Harper still want to cuddle on the couch and watch movies. Like every other child, they're children first. And then yes, we do have to do extra things to support and care for them, but they will thrive because of us. So it's so important that we show that. So we only got a few minutes left, so let's wrap it up with talking about the future and what you think the future looks like for CJ when he gets older and his middle school, high school, adulthood. Have you thought any about what you want life to look like for him? What you're hoping it'll look like for him, or y'all going with the flow and we gonna see?
I haven't dived too much into that, but I'm focusing on the right now,
Living in the moment.
and when we get to that bridge, we'll get there. But I also want to get. Hopefully, he'll be at a point to where he's a little bit more independent, learning to make decisions on what he wants, and I'm just there to support.
Right.
Support her.
I think that's what every parent wants for their child, and that's what success looks like for y'all. And I love that you said that you're living in the moment.
I don't have an answer.
Right. And I'm not going to. Exactly. I remember having a conversation with Harper's team at school, and I was like, we're not going to decide what her future looks like today, because ain't no other elementary school student in here has decided what they're going to do in their future. They may have an idea of saying what they want to do, and we're going to give her that same opportunity. And I think that's really important for us to always stay in the moment and learn. How is it that they're learning? So meet them where they are and help them thrive where they are right now. And then, like you said, when we get to the next phase, depending on what your development looks like at that point and what your options are and things like that. And I also think too that it's like we're aware, that I don't know right now, and I know it's gonna look different. So I'm not trying to decide right now. I think it's
stress.
Yeah, it's super stressful.
You're going to be young and you haven't even graduated the 5th grade.
Yeah.
I know it's coming, but
Yeah.
the people we're prepared though.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I appreciate you for joining us today and sharing y'all story. And I think that you took us way deeper than I even was expecting, and I loved it because you brought out so much visibility, and you brought so much attention, and you shone a light. You had shown a light on what your journey was, how you navigated the journey, and then also just like what it looks like today, and how showing people that yes, CJ has a disability, but he's still a child. He know what he wants, and he know when he ignoring me. He know when he driving me crazy. So I think it's so important for more people to see us.
And a lot of people, just because I always say, don't treat your child no different.
Yeah.
Yeah. CJ, now he might get a pop here and there,
Mm-hmm.
even though they tolerate a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I get in that moment when he's not doing what I'm asking him to do, I will pop him.
Mm-hmm.
And it will take him by surprise. It will. He got to the point where he will pull his hair or bite his finger. And I'm like, you need to stop because you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't just talk him all the time about it. Hey, you need to
Get his attention.
this is what you can't pop for, and he still go through the same thing. But that just TJ, he got to learn.
I think that's a part of it. That's a part of parenting. That's a part of don't look at them because they have a disability and say they can't get disciplined the same way that some of their peers. Because Harper get popped too, right there on the head every time. I said no, don't do that. So yeah, again, I appreciate you for sharing. I appreciate you for what you do for CJ and sharing and encouraging other moms out there, and keep encouraging them. They'll hear you eventually, especially those moms who are still kind of struggling with finding, embracing. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I thank you.
You're welcome. I want to share this last thing.
Yes.
I was talking to my niece. Sometimes people be so proudful to apologize to a child.
Oh yeah.
And I was sharing with her like sometimes if his dad pisses me off and CJ come around and do something that I tell him not to do, I find myself getting angry with him. And one day I'm like, dang, I got to stop doing that. And I apologize to him. If I feel like I did something wrong today, I will apologize to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she had to do her son the same way. And she said he went off in his room and started crying.
Oh.
And she's like, what you crying for? He was like, because you gave me a hug and you apologized.
Oh, you about me.
And it just be little bits, and you think you teaching them a lesson, but you learn a lesson. And God used to be so quick. When I used to get on CJ, he remind me, you ain't doing it either.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. It's a part of parenting.
Yeah, it's okay to apologize to your child. Don't wait till they get old enough to resent you and then you trying to apologize. They don't want to hear it. If you messed up in that moment, say, hey, I messed up. Because you would want them to acknowledge in that moment that they messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good right there. Listen, it ain't nothing I can't add on top of that. That's gonna take us on out. So thank y'all for joining. Thank you again, Lashandra, and we'll see y'all next time. See y'all.